In this episode, Gaby Estrada will break down a simple system to help new entrepreneurs find and connect with their first clients, even if they're starting from scratch. Using just a phone and a basic digital flyer and a consistent follow up mindset, listeners will learn how to build momentum and start growing their business without complicated tools or expensive ads.
Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show, where you will discover how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream. Paul Guyon, the mastermind behind the Lead Machine, introduces you to trailblazers who inspire you to implement life-changing solutions and systems you can model to nurture your leads and get your offers seen by your ideal clients who will invest in themselves and you. Be sure you visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, tune in and get ready to transform your vision into reality.
Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show. I'm Paul Guyon, your host, lead machine coach, and the founder of the Lead Machine Marketing Group and Mastermind. I'm dedicating to help you tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream life. So whether you're just getting started or want to take your business to the next level, let's get this conversation started and turn your dreams into reality. So it's my honor to have Gabriela Estrada, Gaby for short. Gaby Estrada is the founder of Poquillo. Is that right? Poquillo?
Yes.
Poquillo and Business Bestie, where she helps entrepreneurs simplify business and turn overwhelm into action. Known for her no tiene que ser complicado, or it doesn't have to be complicated approach, she breaks down complex business challenges into practical, doable steps. Within 5.5 years of startup experience, Gaby's on a mission to make entrepreneurship feel refreshingly simple. No jargon, or BS, just results. So, Gaby, thank you so much. Did I get that right? Can you say it for me?
Yeah, no tiene que ser complicado. Your Spanish is not that bad. You got it.
Oh, when I was in, was it fifth grade, I had a Spanish teacher, and I had to, oye, ¿quién es ese chico? Chico en la biblioteca. I love the library line, but I had to cheat to be able to get to pass it because I just could not get it. So I had a couple of Spanish classes, but it just wasn't for me. But it's a beautiful language.
No,
And
thank you so much.
in in later years, I'm a singer and a musician, and
Mhm.
I learned how to sing in Latin,
Uh-huh.
also in Ave Maria, and also um, the prayer. I learned how to sing the prayer in Italian, but
Wow.
but it was hard, especially the Italian. The Italian or the Ave was I had promised I told my mother I was learning it, and she said, "Now you're going to sing that at my funeral, aren't you?" And I did. But I learned how to
Oh.
sing it without accompaniment. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
this is about me. Uh, I learned how to sing it a cappella so I could sing it to her before that
Mm.
that day happened.
Yeah.
So it is a beautiful language, and so anyways, it doesn't have to be complicated, and I I can really resonate with that. I've been helping people with business owners simplify technology and just make it simpler for them. Although it can be complex, but it doesn't have to be, and you don't
Mm.
have to be embroiled in that. So I just love that. And when I saw your application to the show, I just said, "Oh, this is going to be a good one." So thank you so much. Can you can you just walk through? We're talking about simplifying a simple lead generation system for
Mhm.
for people who are just starting out, or maybe for
Yes.
people who aren't starting out, or maybe they're just starting into social media. Um,
Mhm.
so can you walk us through how that system works? And if you'd like to give us a little
Yeah.
bit of how you discovered that first, maybe that would be a good start.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you so much, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, so um I've been through just a lot of experiences, right? Trying to help, as you said, I have a startup experience. So helping
Mhm.
this startup grow from nothing to something. But also on my side, trying to grow my business is like you have this great idea in your head and you need to prove it somehow, but that's when most people get stuck. Like, how
Yeah.
do I actually get my first client? Some people think they need to build their first, build a website or I don't know, get just their social media right. And it doesn't need to be that complicated. And I was in that same boat. So I totally get it. But from I put myself to study. I was like, okay, I don't have a lot of money or I don't want to like invest a lot. I need to prove that it can work with the least amount of money. That's one of the
Mhm.
things that you
Yeah.
learn working at a startup. Where bootstrap, you don't have a lot of funding, especially if you're a, like a seed stage startup. So you get creative. And so one other thing is that you can do is just think about the resources that you have right now and
Mhm.
utilize those to your advantage. So everyone that's hearing this podcast can tell you that they probably have a phone
Yeah.
and they can use that to you know, test their idea, and get that first client. So, after hearing, it was a ghostwriter that kind of gave me this initial idea of, hey, just text your neighbors, text your network. And I was like, it sounds easy, but how do you make that practical? So I did have to iterate a little bit more on that idea, but
Mhm.
literally what I did was just I trial and error with crafting a simple message that didn't sound salesy. Because
Yeah.
I don't know if you come across like emails or text
Yeah.
messages and you can see it right off the bat that they're trying to sell you something. Have you experienced that before?
Oh, every day. I just gotta I get phone calls all the time. And they pretend to be from my area code and they're from India.
That's
Yeah.
that's one of the most annoying things.
Yeah.
That also happens to me. So, um, when I was before I started working for this startup, I was working for a corporation that is well known, and I was one of those people that had to cold call
Mm.
and try to get you hooked. So I definitely knew that I didn't want to sound salesy. I didn't want to force people to buy something if they didn't need it or feel like pressure to say yes. So in these templates that I have is offering help to
Mhm.
individuals. So for one of my first clients that I got, I was like, hey, I am offering help in marketing, operations, and branding. If you know anyone that needs help in these areas, I would highly appreciate it if you recommend me to them. That was it.
Mm. Mhm.
So I wasn't feeling like I was pressuring them to say yes or no or commit. I was just like kind of asking for a favor. And if they knew someone, they will be helping out that person. And I didn't even think about buying leads or scrapping the internet on LinkedIn for potential customers. What I did, it was literally just open my phone. And if you open your phone and see that contact list, I'm pretty sure you have more than 10 contacts. So you
Mhm.
can just choose that first one and, text whatever comes to mind just as a test and then see what happens from that first step you take.
Gotcha. And so how would someone get started with that quickly, like in 10 minutes when they're this is a great idea. So you got the phone. What do you say?
Yes, yes. So most people, like the fastest businesses to start right now with no money is the service business, right?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
it's all in your head, you have the knowledge and you just need to offer it to people. So
Mhm.
if you have for example, I'll use a service-based business. So let's say you do bookkeeping, right? So
Yeah.
you know what you want to sell, and let's not worry about the price right now. We just want to test that out into the market and get a
Yeah.
client. That's it. So you can just get your phone and draft a message and say, hi, Paul. Hope you are
Mm.
doing well. I just started a bookkeeping business and I was reaching out to see if you know anyone that needs help in this area. If you do, could you please, share my contact information? I will be more than happy to connect. And you leave it
Yeah.
at
That's very it's not salesy. It's not it doesn't really demand much of them.
that.
Uh yeah, that'd be easy to do.
Yes, yes. And as you get more into the rhythm, we start simple, but then we will iterate. And you will probably mention at the end of the show, but I already did the hard work for everyone. So I have a few
Mhm.
templates of those text messages that you can iterate depending on what you're selling, what you are offering, and then your audience. So I have contacts. So when I started doing this, I'm not gonna lie, I was shy. I was a little bit unconfident. So what I did is that I reached out to people that I hadn't connected in a while because I don't have anything to lose. I haven't
Yeah.
connected, I haven't talked to them in a long time. So I crafted a message that says, like, hey, I hope you're doing well. We haven't connected in a while. This is what I have been up to. And that way you feel a little bit more comfortable. And then once you get more warmed up, you can get and text those closer connections, such as friends, or you can be the opposite where, you have maybe like a best friend and you can just text them and say, hey, what do you think about this text message? And
Mm.
that way they
Yeah.
can build your confidence because a lot of the entrepreneurship journey is all about mindset and how
Yeah.
you think about certain situations and the perspective you put on things.
Yeah, and you mentioned mindset. Uh and you mentioned iterate and mindset. So I call it iterate. You must have an engineering background or a project management background because I use iterate all the time. But what that means, folks, is rinse and repeat. So when you're washing your hair, they say put on some more shampoo and do it twice. Rinse and repeat. I think they did that so that they could sell more shampoo, honestly. But uh, but then there's also persistence. So how does mindset and persistence become as important as the tools that you have?
No, that's a great question, and I think that's what I struggle with for the longest. So, um, this is not my first time trying to start a business. I've tried to do that several times in the
Me
past.
too. Yeah.
And I remember that I would always stop at the peak because I would get just so nervous. So, yes, consistency and persistency is so, so important. So, one of the things if you start this and you don't want to truncate it right at its peak, so one of the things
Mhm.
is that you need to find something a number that you feel comfortable with. So for me, um in the past, to get a job, to get this startup job, what I did is that I was reaching out to individuals directly via email, 20 emails per day, and I
Mm.
feel confident doing that. Right? It's a numbers game. The more you do it, the more chances you are of getting that. So I think the statistics is if for every 50 or 100 cold leads that you reach out to, you will get one to say yes. So the default will be no. So if you just put that in your head, okay, all of these 99 people that I reach out to, they're going to say no. So that way you won't be disappointed. So then after that, the number for me, 20 was something that was comfortable when I was emailing people. But when I was decided to text for my actual business, I decided to do 10 a day
Mhm.
to start. And then after I got more warmed up, like, oh, this is good, this is going all right, I started to increase that to 15, then 20 consecutively to then get more, just more output, more feedback, and more questions. So I would encourage our listeners that are listening to see what's your comfort zone. If it's one a day, start with that. But, don't stop. Put your goal, to do it for 15 days or 30 days or even 90 days, and that will make a difference. And after you do it for a while, it won't look as bad or as hard.
Mhm.
I just like I started doing YouTube videos. The first ones, I was like, no, this is horrible. I don't like seeing myself. And so I stopped midway. And now I'm trying to get back into the routine of like, okay, I'm going to do this challenge of posting every day at 10 a.m. for 90 days. I'm like 8 days in. So cross my fingers that I'm gonna finish
Oh,
the challenge successfully.
great. Great. Um, yeah, you said a number of things there. Persistence, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. So if you start with one, uh, you can gain momentum from there. Once you get one, and especially if you get a response,
Mhm,
I think you're more likely, and you probably can back this up, you're more likely to get a response from your contact list than you will from your email. Just because people have so much email in their inbox. Um,
mhm,
Texting is the SMS messaging is, and sometimes you might have to do both, especially if there's someone on your list that you know is a really good candidate for your services. So
mhm.
let's talk about that for a minute, because I've got a lot of people in my contact list, and
Yeah.
some of us, our phones make it easy for us. They scrape our Facebook, they scrape our Instagram for all of our contact lists and anybody who's ever called, which can get
Mhm,
messy. But there's a lot of people in your sphere of influence that you really don't have a personal relationship with,
mhm,
but they came from your social media. But how important is it to kind of cherry pick and say, okay, knowing that in the example of the bookkeeper, this person I know has a business.
mhm.
They're a small business, which would be a good fit for me, because a big business, they're not going to be a good fit for someone who's starting a bookkeeping, a one-on-one solo entrepreneur kind of thing. So how important it is to know who your contacts are, and if they would be a possible prospect for you.
Yeah, yeah, great question. So I think this is where we get into strategy, right? How
Yeah.
strategic you want to be of who to reach out and when. Um, so with this, I do think it's a great question, and I'm going to be using the example of, just to make it more maybe understandable for the audience of when I was applying a few years ago for a job, right, in the market. And I knew I wanted this specific job, but inside of
Mhm.
me, I felt like I was not ready. Like I hadn't maybe like mm, crafted my message perfectly. And I knew I needed some feedback so that when I reach out to this person, there was going to be no error, no mistakes.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to like the iteration, the fail fast mindset. So
Uh-huh.
I went and reached out to people that it's gonna sound a little bit bad, but I didn't really care what they said,
They were
right?
safer. They were
Mhm,
safer.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I started with those individuals. And so what you can do is if you know that you have a list of a few potential candidates that will match what you're selling and they will probably say yes, make a list of those, right? And don't touch them, right? Until you get feedback from like, I don't know, 3 to 5 people. Because when I started reaching out with my message, they were saying, like, oh, so what do you mean by this? or but what exactly do you do? So then
Yeah.
that was saying that I was being too broad and I
Yeah.
needed to do some refinement. And so that led to me creating a flyer to send with my text message that,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so in that flyer it had my picture and so that it gave a face to the name, right? And my
Mm.
profile pic, it was like very approachable, like you can talk to her, amiable. I wanted to portray that to whoever saw that flyer. It had my phone number and it didn't have my website, but it had the URL to my LinkedIn.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
when they went to that, they saw my history of my work to say, oh, this person does have experience. She knows what she's talking about. Let me give
Mm.
her a call. So thankfully, because I started with the safer connections, I was able to afford
Mm.
those mistakes to then, finally reach out to those clients that I knew they were gonna say yes. And
Mhm.
they were not gonna have like any doubt about myself. So I would encourage that as a strategy. Just don't, you know, fell into that trap of I'm gonna iterate and always make changes and then you never reach out to those contacts because that can't
Yeah.
happen. So have a fine line between that.
Yeah. 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 Um, we could really drill down into that. The messaging part is so important. Um, how have you harnessed AI and to help with your messaging and what are some of the tips that you've learned? I know that you got a smile on your face because I use AI all the time and I use it as I don't have it generated and then just copy and paste. I have
Mhm,
a conversation with it and I said I don't quite like that. Here's my
mhm,
audience. This is your role.
mhm,
This is the outcome I'm looking for. What is this message like? And offer me some suggestions and feedback and act as an expert copywriter with experience in bookkeeping services, something like that. I mean, I just gave away the farm there, but what, but that's just an example of what I do. What do you
mhm,
do
mhm.
with messaging?
Yeah, Paul, that's honestly one of my best topics to talk about besides
Ah,
business and getting
uh-huh,
clients. It's AI. So I am, working full time right now and also trying to grow my business on the side.
uh-huh.
And because this is a startup, we've just adopted AI into everything we do. Like
Hmm.
we were the first ones to leverage AI into this industry. And so I'm all for it. So if you're not using like at least ChatGPT, please incorporate
Yeah.
it somehow into your day-to-day basis. But yeah, going back to your question. So my favorite tool for AI right now is Claude.
Hmm.
And uh, if you have to pay the membership, which is like $20 a month, and I think it's so worth it. And I'm actually working on a project to share these tips more, with individuals that are not in, like startup industry where this is kind of normal, but you can create a project where you load it with your information. So as you get to talk
Yeah.
with more clients and you get a client, you will identify things that are similar with them, that they are attracted to, basically your ICP, your ideal
Yeah.
client profile. You load
Right.
it with
Hmm.
that. And so then going back to these text messages, you can just put there the text message that you have, but then you want to use your brand voice. So
Yeah.
when I load it in there with information, I say, hey, Claude, I have this text message in mind. Can you please make sure to use the knowledge base to then incorporate the voice of my company? Then
Hmm.
Claude will, take that raw message and then it will, spin it up and, have that message again with my company voice that can be, like little
Mhm.
Spanish phrases or like a heart
Mhm.
emoji,
Yeah.
because I am all about emojis. So then, it can speed up that process because I could technically get to that point, but it would have taken me longer, maybe a few hours. And Claude just does it for me in less than a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So now that we're getting into that, we'll have to talk more about AI when we aren't talking about lead generation, maybe in a future episode, because I do have some AI episodes. Um,
Mhm.
do you believe or how does simplifying the tech stack help speed up getting clients? And I think ChatGPT or Claude might be part of the tech stack. But how does
Mhm.
simplifying? You mentioned at the top of the show, this is where we start.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah. So, okay, give me an example of what I mean by simplifying the tech stack.
Many people are there's a lot of procrastination reasons why you can procrastinate. Tech is certainly one of them. So starting with your phone and texting people who are already in your contact list makes a really simple way to get started.
Mhm,
So um, you don't have to have a funnel, but
mhm.
as you grow, you're going to have
Yeah.
automation and things like that. So you
Mhm,
want to start out simple, but you need to ramp up at at
mhm,
some point.
mhm, mhm.
Every business who grows to a certain point has to retool
Yeah.
to be able to accept more and more and more. That's just a
Mhm,
rule of business. So,
mhm.
but
Yeah.
starting out simple, I
Yeah.
guess I answered my own question. But starting, how can we get to the clients fastest?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, I get your question now. Thank you for expanding
Yeah.
on that. So, it's about, again, strategy comes into place, right? So I agree. You'll eventually exhaust your contact list. So I have 500 contacts. And yeah, as you said, eventually those will run out. And then what are you going to do? You're just going to stop and not going to reach, to anyone else. No, that's not something that you can do. So the next step is to think, branch, you're going to repeat the process, but in another platform, right?
Mhm.
So I would never recommend, especially as you start, to try to do that same process across, let's say text message, LinkedIn, Instagram, because you're going to exhaust yourself. So I am a pro of like master one thing. Once you finish that up, then go to the next one.
Mhm.
And if you have more resources, if you have like people that can help you, maybe that's a different story. But I think
Yeah.
most of the people on the audience are solopreneurs, they're just starting, they don't have the capability to hire someone else. So, for example, as I wrap up my list of contacts, the next thing to do is think, okay, where do you have the biggest amount of connections after your contact list? So
Mhm.
for me, it's LinkedIn. I have more than 500 connections. And so I can reach out, I can tailor the text message a little bit to, be reflective of, for LinkedIn, the LinkedIn audience. But then I can reach out to those individuals with the same story. So you're rinse and
Yeah.
repeat.
Yeah.
Once you exhaust that list, I think about, okay, where else do I have more connections? So is that Facebook? I will, do that. And then Instagram, or Twitter. I mean X. But
Yeah.
that's how you, do
Yeah.
one at a time. And
Mhm.
because each one is going to be similar, but not exactly the same. And that's how you,
Yeah.
continue, just following in some clients into your business.
Okay. Great example of expanding your reach on different platforms. At some point, um, what are some of the mistakes that people make
Mhm.
with the manual lead generation, and
Yeah.
how can they avoid them, and what do you do as you, I mean, another
Mhm.
source of leads is obviously your clients that you've gotten. But
Mhm,
what do
mhm,
you
mhm.
do with what are some of the mistakes that people make first of all with manual lead generation?
Yeah, I think it's two of them. So one of them is that I'm not gonna lie, doing manual is not fun. You're literally at a point where you're just gonna be copying and pasting and changing the name of that individual. It's not fun, but it's work
Mhm.
that you have to do. And it's very easy to, if you have the budget, to hire someone to do it for you,
Mhm.
or even consider, I think you mentioned automation,
Yeah,
to do some sort of automation. And there's so much help out there to do that now. But I don't think you should do that in the very beginning because you are still learning, and it's good to be in the weeds of things so that when you are ready to fully automate or give it to someone else, you know exactly what that means. You have all of that knowledge. So I would
yeah,
say, until you have, and this is something that people can argue about depending on what they're selling, but maybe until you have your first 10 clients, don't think about, starting to automate things. I think that's too early. So even if
Mhm.
it's a pain in the butt, just,
Yeah,
do it. The other side of that coin is that as you are texting and you probably exhaust your contact list of your phone, you'll get clients, one, two,
yeah,
or three. So you're gonna have to balance things between paying attention to your clients and,
hmm, yeah,
contacting leads. You want to focus on your clients because I have this idea that if you offer the best job, you offer the best service to your
hmm,
clients,
yeah,
they're gonna do this thing called word of mouth. So they're
yeah,
gonna start recommending you to other individuals, and that costs $0. And
right,
honestly, that's my goal, to get to a point where
hmm,
I'm gonna, need to like text people, email people, hire someone to do that for me eventually. But for my clients to be the number one source of getting more clients, because I've seen it. I've seen it with my dad's
hmm,
business. At one point he was doing all of this where he would go into the streets and knock on doors and get give business cards out. And now people call him and he gets at a point where he rejects people, where I'm sorry, I'm full, I can't take more clients. And that's where I want to get to. So if you do a good
yeah.
job, you will get those rewards, by themselves, where people recommend you, and you won't have to grind a lot in this area, but you do have to do this first when you start.
Right. I like that you brought that up because it gives me the idea that not only so you've at this point you've got those clients, maybe three to 10 clients.
Mhm,
You're pretty confident that your message is pretty solid. Um,
mhm,
you can ask your clients, why did they buy from you? And
mhm,
what is it that you do, so you get more insight into how they emotionally have and logically have arrived at hiring you, and from
mhm,
there you can craft a message that you can give them, because a lot of people say, oh, if
mhm.
you ask for a referral, their mind goes blank. But if you
Yeah.
say, who do you know that would also be able to benefit like you have,
Mhm,
because you've saved time, or you've saved money, or we found unbilled income there that we've discovered, and who else do you know? And by the
mhm,
way, here's what could you recommend them to me? And
mhm,
can you send them this email? Can you send them this text message? And you can
mhm.
give them the message to send, so that that
Yes.
really really helps. Have you experienced that? Have you kind of explored that?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm literally in the process of nailing that down.
Uh-huh.
Because so for my business, I coach them for a period of time. So it can be
Hmm.
3 to 6 months. And so once I finish kind of the onboarding process, which is like maybe 3 months or so, I kind of have a sense, where they're at. So I feel
Hmm.
comfortable telling them like, I have a like a checkpoint where
Uh-huh.
kind of like a QBR, I think that's what we call it in the startup world. But basically I sync with them and say, hey, how's everything doing? And they share their feedback, if there's any room for improvements. And so that's a very good point where if I'm on the call with them, I can say, hey, I am, trying to get more clients and I appreciate all the feedback that you've given me. Would you mind one giving me a Google review and two referring me to other people? So then
Uh-huh.
after I finish the call, I send them a quick text message with the link to give me a Google review because that's
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
boost my presence online. And then number two, like, here is, my little flyer if you want to pass it around to, your friends or your colleagues. Here's my information. So I make it very, very easy for them to do that without thinking. And going back to what you said about if for that Google review, right? I think that's where I need to make those tweaks is you do need to give them something because if you're
Yeah.
expecting them to craft a 50 character message or something, well, let's be real, they are very busy. So you need to give
Yeah.
them a lift. So I think that's
Yeah.
where I can use AI to help me
Yeah.
in that,
For sure.
where I can say, hey, this is a sample message that you can use and add to it if you want. And that way they have a head start already for that Google review.
Yeah, and you can even tell Google what this client's pain points were, or not. You can
Mhm.
tell AI what their pain points were, what their results were, and say, "Give me 10 messages that my client with these pain points and these success results are," and spit it out for me. And you can tell that to Claude, and because it'll know a lot of that already, and spit that out for me, and use that. 'Cause that'll save you a ton of time, and it will
Mhm.
teach you. It'll teach you to be better at messaging too,
Yes.
which is
Mhm.
the power. I think the power, one of the powerful kind of unintended benefits
Mhm.
of AI and using AI is that you get more clear on the questions you ask it, and you go, "Oh, wow, I never would have thought of that," and you go,
Yes.
"Wow, that's crazy." So,
So yeah, and honestly, I was just reminded. So I haven't done it with text messages, but I've done it with LinkedIn recommendations. So if you have
uh,
LinkedIn, you know that you can recommend someone or they can
oh
recommend
yeah,
you. Yeah. So I got three people that I know that I helped them with a project, and I was like, hey, like. Since I'm using my LinkedIn URL for my flyer, right? That's kind of where the attention is. So I told him, hey,
mhm,
we've wrapped up this project. I'm so happy that, we are good with this. Would you mind giving me a recommendation? And as a win-win, I'll do one for you. So you can do a
yeah,
recommendation for a client. So I got Claude where I kind of did what you said. And I was like,
yeah,
hey, this is what I crafted for you. Do you like it? And this is what you could write up for me. What do you think about that? So, two in one, they got a recommendation. Most of them didn't
ah.
knew that was the thing, and then they gave me a recommendation. So I think now I have like five recommendations on LinkedIn. Um, so we both won by doing that.
I love that. That's a great idea. Jeez. So, um, we're getting down to the wire, but how would someone with just an hour of day, what would how could they prioritize doing this and getting it done with an hour a day?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's go back to the very beginning, right? Where it was,
Yeah.
simplify, simplify, simplify. So do this the most like the make it as simple as possible on your side. So if you only have 1 hour a day, first of all, put a reminder on your phone. Like literally, I'm gonna do it at 9 a.m. every single
Hmm.
day. And then
Yeah.
second, say, okay, if we just want to get, simplify the numbers, say, I'm just gonna reach out to one person in this, like 'Cause I think the first time it will probably take you like 30 minutes to reach out to that first contact because you're like sweating. But after that, you will increase the numbers to two, three, four, and five. So right now, like literally after the call, I think you can do this. Like, just open up your phone and text one individual to start.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you've done this, you've rinsed and repeat, you're sending people messages, uh, and they're starting to respond. So it looks like you've got might have a winner of a message or at least a control for your message.
Mhm.
How quickly should you respond to those messages?
Mm. That's a good question. So I think, yeah, there's that psychology, right, behind it. You
Yeah.
don't want to respond immediately.
Yeah.
Because that's the way I think about it. You might look a little bit desperate. And like I pretend like I have a lot of clients even when I don't. So it boosts my confidence, right?
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
are an owner, you are an entrepreneur, and you got this.
Mhm.
So what I recommend, just if you receive a text message from someone that you texted, maybe wait, you know, 10 minutes and then get back to them on if they have questions or if they wanted to book a meeting. So for the first people that responded, some of them had questions again, like, what do you mean by this? Or, what do you really offer? But some of them, they were like, hey, I would be interested in knowing more about this. Could we connect? So then, I would reply back with, yeah, what does your availability look like? I have, you know, Wednesday, Thursday, and Monday of next week from 2 to 5 to connect for 30 minutes. And then you will start with that process of
Mhm.
discovery and, see if they are a good fit for you.
Yeah. 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 I like that. And so during that process, you're kind of looking like you just mentioned. Um, it's kind of like triage, but I like to call it prioritization. So you're going to prioritize which of those you're going to follow up. Once you get this thing rolling, you're going to get replies that are more like, I can't tell what. Well, if you've got your messaging right, they're not going to say, I don't understand what you're offering,
Yep.
but they're going to
Mhm.
say, yeah, I'm not so much interested. So you're going to say, well, thanks for reaching out, and maybe put them on a nurture list, but there's the person who you mentioned that says, "Yeah, I'd like to know more." So how do you go about prioritizing those, especially when you got more of those flowing in?
Um, yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah. So I believe in writing things down either digitally or on paper. So
Mhm.
actually, if you are seeing the video version, I have a notebook just dedicated to business stuff
Uh-huh.
in my business. So I would open that up and say, okay, this client is on the cold. Well, not this client. This lead is on the cold side. So you can write them out and then move on to the next one. You don't want to invest time in people that are not ready yet, or
Yeah.
they said, oh, this sounds good, but I'll think about it or whatever. You can just write them down and then you'll come back out to them after, maybe you finished your contact list or something like that. But
Uh-huh.
for those clients that are more on the warm, on the hot side, really, spend time opening those messages and trying to do some research if you can, if you know the name of their business, what
Mhm.
they do, where they're coming from, what pain points they might have, and then you can start writing that information on a piece of paper. So once
Mhm.
you are ready for that discovery call, you already did some homework before jumping into that call. That way you're not like starting from scratch, you're literally right on the call.
Right, right. I love that. And
Mhm.
that's an example of starting simple. We've got the phone, we've got our own contact list, and we've got a notepad and a pen and a paper. That's all you need, folks, to get started. And so
Mhm.
we're getting to the end of our time together for the moment, Gabby. As you wrap up with your final words, what are three things that our audience can do today? And I know we've covered some of them to put them into action, put these ideas into action.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's good to remind our audience. So entrepreneurship is fun, but it's not easy. There will be a lot of emotions when you're starting. So let's not make things complicated.
Mhm.
So yes, literally get your phone again. You have a phone, get that phone, open it up to one contact that you don't really care what they say, and then text them what you are offering in a non-salesy way, and you'll
Yeah.
get those templates that Paul will talk about later.
Yeah.
That way you save a lot of time, and you literally can do this like within less than an hour today.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Oh, okay. And so are there any other tips or questions that I didn't ask that I should have asked that we didn't cover?
Yeah, I think so we kind of talked about, technology, what you have to do,
Yeah.
but I have alluded, there's going to be a lot of emotions.
Mm.
So you need someone for mental support. So I would
Yeah.
say, identify someone that regardless of what happens, they are always going to be there to support you, to be a shoulder. So identify that person, and that way you have not only a person that can hear you, but also accountability. I think that's the biggest thing. So we said
Yeah.
consistency and persistency is a good thing, but most of the time it's hard to do it by yourself. So if you have someone in your circle that can be like, Gabby, have you really texted, five contacts, this week? Who is that
Oh,
person?
yeah.
It can be your mom, your dad, your brother, your best friend, your boyfriend. Just get that one person that will support you, but it will also, like nudge you to keep going.
I love that accountability partner and, model people who are successful that you want to be like,
Mhm,
see what they're doing. You know, um, I have a friend who, who's, he's a really hard worker.
mhm,
He will outwork you. Even if he doesn't have the skills that this other person has, he's 5'8", and he was a basketball and tennis star when he was in high school. He outworked his competition, and he's got a son who's
wow.
just like him. He's 5'8", and he's on the golf pro circuit. Uh, but he's nothing to look at. He's thin and he's small, but he's a giant with persistence. And so
Mhm,
that mindset of persistence and belief, he believes in himself.
mhm,
He knows he's
mhm,
got other opportunities, but I encourage you to say, okay, I'm going to test this thing and make sure that it's really something that it will work.
mhm,
But don't
mhm.
be thinking about what your second plan is, what your B plan is.
Yes.
Just
Mhm,
stick
mhm,
with that thing. Faith and action go a long way, and persistence. So
mhm.
I would encourage you to stick to it. So
Yes.
Gabby, you've also got you've mentioned the DM templates. So she's offering the DM templates, direct message templates guide, featuring the exact messages that help her uh, land generate up 30K in client revenue. Now, that's nice, including the specific DM that landed her very first client. So you're going to want to grab that. It's a powerful resource for new entrepreneurs ready to take fast, confident action, which is what we've been talking about, and start the conversations that really convert. And so if you want to get that, go to www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com/Gabby DM. That's www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com/Gabby DM. That's GABY DM. And thank you so much, Gabby. As we sign off, remember faith and action go hand in hand. So keep the pedal until to the metal until next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show. I'm Paul Guyon and Gaby Estrada. Thank you so much for coming. I just loved our topic today.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lead Machine Growth Show with Paul Guyon, where we show you how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream so that you can transform your vision into reality. Remember to visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show.